was very good last night.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to go back and watch the playback when I have time. And we are live.
He's interesting because I didn't think we were going to have the full load of people on Christmas Day, and then he came and made it, 6 people on the broadcast. Jay was trying to, make sure we had 6, but, sometimes it's hard to get people.
Right. Yeah, I'll definitely go back and check it out. Speaking of which, all right, we are live, people. So hello to all the boys and girls out there in YouTube land watching. Thanks for stopping by. John and Ellie of Georgia Beer Reviews back at you this evening with Michael Komaroff, and we are doing a special bourbon. Whoop, that's not what we're doing. We are doing this. We are doing a Bourbon County Stout examination, and we both have different years, different variants, but it's very difficult for me to acquire any Bourbon County Stout variants in the state of Georgia. Last year, they didn't distribute to Georgia at all. This year, there's one variant that I've been able to get, and I was super excited. And of course, Michael was kind enough to join me and do an examination. So I'll let you go first. Which one do you have, Michael?
Okay, I have the Bourbon County Stout from 2017, which means we're already looking at 2.5 years in the bottle, which I guess maybe be interesting to get the taste profile on it. It may calm down the flavors a little bit. This is what it looks like in the glass. It's 14.1%. So at that high, it's not going to have too big a head, but the head is holding. It's a tan beige kind of head, and the beer is like pitch black. You can't see through it. So it's looks pretty good. And
I've got one that was
and the nose is incredible.
I just cracked mine open too. This is the first aroma I'm getting here, and it smells absolutely insane. Lots of coffee, some caramel, some dark chocolate, no alcohol. I'm gonna go ahead and pour mine as well. And this is a 2019 release. It has not been released in the past. This is the first year. For this one, it's the Cafe de Olla, and it is 13.5%, which is why I can get it here in Georgia, because anything 14% or less is legal in the state of Georgia. I poured mine. Here's the appearance really quick. It did pour with a nice, relatively creamy, beige-looking head on it, which is already starting to die down. God, it smells good. Now, this one has Intelligentsia coffee, cassia bark, which is cinnamon, orange peel, and panela sugar.
Sounds great.
Man, mine smells absolutely incredible. Let's see who we've got. We've got Drunken One. Cheers, Jens. Cheers to you, Drunken One. Bumpy Road. Cheers to you as well. And Trish over at Keep Sipping. Cheers. Yeah, thanks for stopping by, guys. This is kind of just, Michael and I always like drinking Bourbon County Stout. I always like to do these types of things when I can, but this is sort of spur of the moment. We didn't know when we were going to do this. And because it's so difficult for me to acquire Bourbon County, this is like a Christmas present to myself. This is going to be awesome. So, Michael, I'll let you go ahead and lead off with your 2017.
I showed the beer. There it is. Very nice look to it, and the head is still holding up. It's not a huge head, but it's still holding its top, and lacing is really nice, and the head retention is nice. Let me give it a sniff. It's an incredible nose on this. It's got bourbon is your lead smell, but you're getting the oaky kind of bourbon where it was in the bourbon barrel. You're getting that oakiness. You're getting a sweetness. You're getting some vanilla. You're getting some dark fruit. I mean, this is like Bourbon County full on. I mean, it's really nice. What else? What else am I getting? The dark fruit is kind of really nice. There's kind of like a smoothness to it. Now, I don't know if the smoothness is the fact it's been in the bottle for a couple of years, or it would be smooth, if it was the 2019. But there's kind of like a smooth kind of sweetness to it. I'm going to take a sip. I have to.
All right, cheers. Yeah, I'm trying to hold off until I go here, but it's very difficult to not drink this immediately.
The taste is incredible. Now, maybe a difference with this one a little bit is you do get a little alcohol on the first taste, but it's not the kind that'll turn you off, if you know what I mean. It's not alcohol in your face. It's kind of like you can tell this is a big beer just by the taste. So
Right.
there is alcohol, but it's, once that alcohol gets out of your mouth, it goes right away, and you get into the malt sweetness, the bourbon. All the nose that I had before is coming through in the taste profile. It's really nice. I don't know, something about Goose Island in this series where they're consistently good every year since that problem they had with the souring in the earlier. They've been more consistent, and it's pretty amazing. Getting some vanilla as well. Chocolate, some coffee, dark chocolate, some coffee. But the way they balance these flavors, it's amazing. Eric's there too.
Yeah, we got Eric and Blake and Bumpy and Trish and Drunken One. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. We appreciate it. One quick note about the Bourbon County that some people may or may not know. It was originally introduced in 1992. When Goose Island brewmaster Greg Hall sat down next to Jim Beam's Booker No at a dinner. Hall mentioned an idea that he had about aging beer in bourbon barrels, and the two quickly reached an agreement, and that was the original Bourbon County Stout. And ever since then, they've been putting it out every year, and obviously now they have all these different variants, but I think that's pretty cool. I didn't know that they had been around since 1992, so there's a lot of history with it, and they keep continuing to push the envelope and create all these new and exciting variants. And I have not had one yet. And I have had the only one that is not a stout, the barley wine, the wheat wine version that we did either earlier this year or late last year. And I thought that was world-class as well. So they do, they're really branching off and making some exciting things. This one here smells amazing. I'm excited to get into it. I'm going to go ahead and do that now. The nose really quick. I'm getting a little bit of coffee, but it's not overbearing. I'm mostly getting like caramel. Like, when you go to, I'm not a huge coffee drinker, but if you go and get like a mocha cappuccino type thing, you get like those caramel notes. Right. I'm getting like caramel, coffee, a little bit of dark chocolate, a little bit of the roast, maybe a little bit of vanilla from the bourbon barrel aging. The alcohol, nothing. No boozy aromas on this at all. It just smells sweet and delightful. So, cheers, Michael.
Cheers.
Holy cow. Okay. So the coffee is coming through a little bit more on the palate, but it's very, very malty, very sweet. The coffee just kind of provides a little bit of bitterness on the finish. The bourbon barrel is definitely coming through, but it's not boozy. The 13.5% is masked exceptionally well. Let me get another sip here. Yeah, I'm getting that like caramel frappuccino type thing. It definitely has some caramel notes in there. It is sweet. Maybe some of that's coming from the vanilla sugar that they add. So there is a definite sweetness there as well. I'm not really getting much of the orange peel, if any. The coffee kind of masks that a little bit. Let's see if I'm getting any cinnamon.
The coffee is both front end and through. In other words, the coffee stays in the flavor.
The coffee does stay in the flavor throughout the sip, and it's definitely on the finish. Provides a little bit of bitterness, but it's not overpowering. It's still very well balanced. I'm getting a little bit of sweetness, like I said, from the sugar. And now that I continue to sip on it, I'm getting some of that cinnamon. A little bit of the cinnamon's coming through as well. It's outstanding. The vanilla's coming through on the palate as well. Maybe a little bit of the oak, some of the barrel presence for sure. The finish is creamy. It's got that creamy mouthfeel. I'm not really getting any burning, any warming going down. There's no real alcohol presence other than the barrel notes that I'm getting, but it's not boozy in the sense that it burns going down or it tastes like it has alcohol in it. If I had to guess, if you blindfolded me and gave this to me, I would say maybe it's a 7%er. I mean, it definitely doesn't taste like a super high alcohol stout.
So they've done a good job of covering the alcohol with all the other
right. Which you mentioned some barrel presence on yours, but is the alcohol also very well matched with the original?
I mean, mine for a 14.1 doesn't taste like a 14.1, but I think mine may not be covered as well as yours. So
well, you don't have any addition other than the barrel aging. You don't have any sugar or coffee or anything added. So if there wasn't,
it makes it harder for you to ask it. I would say if you were to taste this, you would think it's about an 8% or maybe an 8.5% kind of stout. But if you think about it, the way it's so well balanced with all the different tastes together, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Well, Michael, you said you could get this one in your area. I would definitely recommend picking this one.
Okay. I mean, I haven't bought a variant yet, but I'll probably buy one. Just even though they are in a higher price range, it was like $22.99, I think.
This one was $21.99, but I would have. I mean, considering I can't get it, regularly here in my area, I had to travel 30 miles north to find this, and I was shocked. I wasn't even looking for it. I was shocked to see it on the shelf. I would have bought everything that they had, but they had a big sign on it: 1 bottle limit per customer.
Now, your regular place you buy beer in Peachtree City, they didn't get this at all, or did you ask when you were there?
I asked them about it, and they said they would not get it. They that it was difficult to acquire, and that they were more interested in promoting the local craft breweries, which they have an excellent selection.
Okay, I understand.
So they didn't really feel the need, I guess, to try to branch out and get it. But the place that I got this from is Fairburn, Georgia, which is just south of Atlanta. And they have a store there. Ron Terrio went there with me when he came to visit. It's called World of Beverage. And it's basically like a Walmart, but all they have in there is beer, wine, and liquor. It's probably very similar to a Total Wine and More.
Can you go back there again and get another one before they run out, or it depends on your time?
I'm going to try. I'm going to try to go probably tomorrow and buy another bottle. And if they have a lot left, then I'll probably go again on Saturday and buy another bottle. It sucks because it's kind of a drive for me, and you can only buy 1 bottle at a time.
Right.
So,
because you could, if you get 2 more, sell or one of them.
Yeah, I would. That would be something I could definitely do. I think maybe the coffee would mellow out a little bit, and maybe some of the bourbon notes would come through as it ages. I'm not really sure. I'd have to try it. It's interesting. Mine has a best by date. Yours has a bottle on date, right?
Right. So I don't know. I can remember in the older ones that they've had, and this type bottle they've been using since 2013 with the little, the top part like this on the front. I guess the other bottles that they had before were a little bit different, but I was not drinking Bourbon County at that time. And it's funny, my nephew kind of, I guess, how would I describe it? He kind of kidded me, and he said, sometimes you have to go a little extra mile because this stuff is so amazing and buy it. Because I always thought that the price point on this was a little bit high. But as time has gone on with the CBS and some of the other bomber sizes, I mean, those are more expensive if you think about it.
Yeah. Well, and I bought a ton of CBS. I bought 4 4-packs. Last year, I bought 3 or 4 of the bombers, and it's a lot more money. If the regular Bourbon County was available around here, it was what, $12.99 for the original variant? I'd buy so much of it. I mean, it'd be ridiculous.
No, because it's a quality product, which you can't go wrong on. And if you think about it, you're getting a 16.9 ounce in this type bottle, and there's nothing, we're going to give our numbers, but you pretty much know what I'm doing. I mean, I haven't found a Bourbon County one that was less than 98 on any of the ones I've had. So, I mean, this could be a 99.
Right. Before we give our numbers, let's go to the chat really quick. We've got Bumpy Says he got black socks too with a nice high ankle, so my pants would stop chafing my ankles. Eric is drinking along with us. He has a Revolution Brewing Death Star bourbon barrel aged beer, 14.8%. Okay,
Sounds pretty heavy duty too.
That is. Sud is in the chat. Says who goosed the moose? Harry Longfinger. Tyler Mansell is in the chat. Says cheers to you, Tyler. And let's see, Bart Robinson, our buddy Bart, says happy holidays, gentlemen. Happy holidays to you, Bart. Hope you had a Merry Christmas and have a Happy New Year. And let's see. Eric, come on, man. Ronnie wants to know if the Bourbon County Stout is a malt liquor.
You have to watch, John. You have to watch the whole Wild Card Wednesday, because it was like we got into a dispute with Ronnie. Ronnie was saying that every beer that's over 5% has to be called a malt liquor, and we kept telling him that it's a marketing ploy. It's not anything which is set in stone. If you call what we're drinking tonight a malt liquor, you'd be sent out. I mean, it's not a malt liquor. You got to be kidding.
Right. Well, and Ronnie's coming from, I know where Ronnie's coming from, and a lot of this is from Ronald Terrio. Apparently the law used to be that anything over a certain percentage, maybe it was 5, maybe it was 5.5, it had to be labeled as a malt liquor in the state of Texas and in certain parts of the country.
Right.
Well, that law no longer applies because, right. I mean, I can go down the road. I could buy Molson Super Premium. It would qualify as a malt liquor. It's 7.2 or 7.3% alcohol, but it says on the label Super Premium Beer. And it's just like your Old English High Gravity, your Colt 40. I mean, that's a malt liquor. So
is that the double X?
It's a style of beer. It's a very malty, low hop profile, low IBUs, ton of alcohol, and it's marketed for low income, or just people that are looking to catch a buzz. If you put this in the same category as a malt liquor, then yeah, you shouldn't be drinking beer.
I've discovered some new things about this as it's warming. When you've had your other Bourbon County that you've had, have you ever gotten this kind of like wild berry pie kind of feel to it? It's like,
yes. And you remember last Stout Sunday I brought the barrel aged 1050, and I always get berry notes with that, and I find like with a lot of barrel aged stouts I do get berry notes, and I think that's just from the barrel aging. With this one I'm not getting it because of the coffee and the cinnamon and some of the sugar that's in here, but I'm sure with the one that you've got, that definitely sounds like you would probably get some of that. I sure as hell was getting it with the 1050. So.
And it's not background. It's right there with the vanilla and the oak and the bourbon barrel characteristic that's coming through. So I would say the berry is an intervening taste, I find that to be a very positive taste in this kind of thing.
Yeah, I do too. When I get those notes in a stout, I think they complement one another very well. We've also, let's see. Oh, well, thank you, Eric. He says, good old history, John. We've got Brian Thrash Metal says, cheers to the panel in the chat. Cheers to you, Brian. Hope you had a Merry Christmas. And Bart Robinson says he loves that Molson Triple X. That is pretty good. It's one of the better high gravity, cheap malt liquor type beers on the market. Molson Ice is also good. That's one of my favorite ice beers. But anyway, it's pretty popular around here, Bart, the Molson products. Let's see. Sut says it has too strong of a metal taste. I don't really get metal taste in beer anymore. I get, a lot of people used to complain about that back in the late 90s, early 2000s, but I think they pretty much, for the most part, gotten rid of that. I think that was more of a can issue, not necessarily a quality issue.
Right. I agree.
Anyway, and sorry to all the people out there. I've been kind of battling a cold, so if my voice sounds a little bit off, that's why. But I still do have my taste, and my nose is clear enough to where I'm not missing out on anything with this beer. And I'm ready for a rate. I'm ready to give a rating for mine. I'm going to go ahead and just say it's a 99. I would give it. The only reason it's not 100, and I will give beers 100. Very few beers have gotten 100 from me. This is not one of them, but it's damn near close. If you like coffee a little bit more, you might give it 100. But the coffee in this, although it's very well balanced, I like some of the other variants that I've had better. The best one I've ever had that I gave 100 was the 2016 Northwoods Stout Edition that had the blueberry extract, or the blueberry puree and the almond extract. That one I gave 100 out of 100. All of the other ones have been right there, 98, 99, but that was my favorite one. This one is incredible. The cinnamon comes through, the coffee, the barrel aging comes through, the alcohol is exceptionally well masked. 13.5% is just, it's not there. I would like to try the original, even though I can't get it here, but I would like to know how the barrel presence comes through on that beer without all the additives in it. I think that would be incredible. But yeah, this is a 99 for me. It's absolutely out of this world. If you live in an area where you can get Bourbon County Stout, any of the variants, I would highly recommend that you do so. And honestly, I would say go for the original first, because it's $12.99 and the variants are $21.99, some of them more, but the one that I bought was $21.99. So go with the original first and then kind of branch off from there.
So the one this year, the 2019 edition of this, is also over 14%?
Yes, it is. I'm not exactly sure what this year's was, but the 2018 was 15.2. I think this year it's like 14.7, 14.8.
Because there are other variants. I don't know if any of them are less than 14, but there are 6 variants, I think.
There are actually 8. There are 8 variants this year. It's the most that they've ever released. And you've got the original. You've got this is for this year. You've got the original. You've got the double barrel stout. You've got the 2-year reserve Bourbon County Stout, the reserve rye Bourbon County Stout, the proprietor's Bourbon County Stout, the Bourbon County Wheat Wine Ale, which is the one that I got
we had last year. You had,
right? The one that I have now, the Cafe de Olla, and then the Moncherie, which is another one that they introduced in 2019. The Moncherie and the Cafe de Olla, both new additions in the lineup this year. And then this is what I was showing you earlier. They have, if you can ever find this, this is, I don't know if I'm going to get it to focus. This is the Bourbon County Stout Vertical Collection that they have on sale with the 17, 18, and 19 original variants.
Wow.
So,
well, I guess I still have the possibility of at least getting one of the 2019s, and then I could have a 4-year vertical, 16, 17, 18, and 19, but I'd have to get other people together because I couldn't drink 4 of these at the same time.
Bumpy says, I was just here for your voice, not your taste. Well, I'm sorry, Bumpy. So Eric has a question, and I'm not – he says, why are the Bourbon County Stouts more expensive this year? Honestly, Eric, I don't think they are. As far as the $12.99 has pretty much been the standard for the original.
There were a couple of years when you could get it for, I think, was it $9.99 a couple of years ago? And so it's gone up a little bit, but again, that could just be in the cost being higher.
Maybe in some areas, but in the state of Georgia, it's always been higher because it's so hard to come by. Michael, yeah, you'd be more qualified, or you would know more about that since you live in New York and you kind of get a little bit of everything of what they
I only saw 2 of the variants so far. The one you have and the wheat wine were the 2 that they had in Wegmans when I went. And I decided that the variants, I didn't want to spend $23. But look, I may weaken and decide to do it. You never know.
Right. Okay, so he refined his question. He said, why are the variants $10 more? Well, Eric, if I had to guess, I would say that the variants are more because they add really expensive additives. Panela sugar, cassia bark, which is shipped in from China, orange peel. I mean, not that these are super high, I mean, not that they're crazy expensive, but when you start adding stuff to the beer, the cost goes up. And I guess they figure that they should charge more because there's a lot of other things that are involved versus the standard, which is just putting the barrels. And then once it ages, they bottle it and that's it. So that would be my guess.
John, if you remember back to last year, I got turned on to, I think it was an orange variety by Giant Space Monkey, which I thought tasted more like cherry, and I wasn't thrilled with it. It wasn't bad.
Midnight Orange, yeah.
Midnight Orange. Now, again, that was one of the first ones that I didn't give a 98 to. I thought it was not as good, but it still was a quality product. It still was an A beer. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But it was not an A+ beer. It was not world class.
Right. And maybe that was one of the ones that the company's like, yeah, this is kind of a miss for us, even though it's borderline world class. They don't make it anymore. That was one that they discontinued. It is not a 2019 release. So to me, that means that maybe they experimented around. The reception for it wasn't as warm as they thought it was going to be. So they came out with a few new variants instead.
I would never turn something like that down. If somebody said, let's try this, I would always try it. I just didn't find it. The other ones I find to be amazing. I just found that to be good. Very good even. It was excellent,
right.
But just like I didn't get the orange. I got cherry. So it was an off taste. You want it to taste like what they're claiming it is. I didn't get citrus in it at all. It was kind of like I got more sweetness than I got citrus. But quality product, don't get me wrong. It was still good.
Right. Now, did you actually I said 99 for mine. Did you actually rate yours yet? What did you say?
99.
99. So 99 for you as well.
Now,
so we're both in agreement that it's a world-class stout. Every variant that I've had has been world-class. The one that you had that was a slight miss that was still great was the Midnight Orange.
Right. And that still was just on the edge of being world class because it still has the base beer. So you can't totally ruin it.
Right. And I've heard a lot of people say, I want to cover this before we get off of here. I've heard a lot of people say to me, and just watching other YouTube videos, people that do reviews, they will not buy the Bourbon County Stout because it's an InBev. Anheuser-Busch, it's owned by them now. So they're staying away from that. And they're like, oh, there are so many other stouts on the market that are much better than the Bourbon County Stout. Well, you know what? That has not been my experience as much as, Michael, you're the perfect guy to talk to about this because you don't buy macros. You'll drink them every once in a while, but that's not really your thing. What's your opinion on the Bourbon County? How does the Bourbon County stack up to some of the local stuff that you've had, and just in general, the best stouts that you've ever had? Is it right there?
I'm not by any means into supporting InBev, whatever. But my theory is if it reaches this level of quality, sometimes it doesn't matter who makes the money. That's how I look at it. I have not found anything that's as consistent as this line of the Goose Island Bourbon County beers. I do like, and it's funny, we'll talk about this because you know how I feel about 6 Point. They have, and again, it was all in limited release, so it's not like you can get more of it. They released 3 different ones, and they were all in a series, and they came in 12-ounce cans, and I still have a bunch of them in my refrigerator because it's almost like I only take them out every once in a while and try them because I know once I finish them, you can't replace them anymore. They've never been done again on a national basis. So they were sold at these limited releases and whatever. And they're good to the point. I would say they're almost as good as this. I've given 98s to them, but I've never given a 99. So they're right on the edge. Some are higher alcohol. A couple of them were 14.5, which is a little bit higher than this. But I think they had a regular one, and then they had one that was with orange, like the Midnight Orange series last year from Bourbon County. And then the last one, which was in the last one they released before they went on their hiatus, was one that was done in that Caskmate series with Jameson. So they were aged 2 years in Jameson whiskey barrels. And it's funny, Jameson is Irish whiskey, but when I drank it, it tasted more like bourbon. Now maybe it's hard sometimes when you're doing barrel aged tasting to differentiate between Irish, Scotch, bourbon, rye, whiskey, because the beer, which is sitting in those barrels, gets whatever taste it gets. Sometimes bourbon, which is the main taste that I'm getting in this one, and I think the one I'm drinking is from Heaven Hill Bourbon Barrel. I think that's what they're using now. These were Jameson cast whiskey barrels, and I could not differentiate. To me, it was just like a whiskey taste. I couldn't have said it was Irish whiskey. Right.
When I did the plaid, the one from Boulevard Brewing, it was an imperial stout that was aged in Canadian whiskey barrels. It just tasted like a whiskey barrel aged beer. That's one thing. So, like the Bourbon County, it's always aged in bourbon barrels. Really good bourbon too. But a lot of times, when you're drinking barrel aged beers, if they want to use a different barrel, an Irish or a Scotch, even, there's no Scotch or Irish whiskey left in the barrel. It's just the barrel, and all the barrels are oak barrels, right? Charred oak barrel.
Right.
Maybe not as heavily charred. Maybe the Irish whiskey and the Scotch whiskey is not as heavily charred as the bourbon, because bourbon barrels, when it comes to whiskey, that's about as much charge you're going to get in a barrel. So maybe the bourbon barrel aged stuff is a little bit stronger with the whiskey notes because of the char. But as far as the differentiation between being able to tell which type of barrel a beer is aged in, I don't really think you can really necessarily do that, because there's no beer left in it. You're getting the barrel, the oak, you're getting the wood notes,
right,
and not necessarily the different whiskey flavors.
You seem to get vanilla as well in most of these, and maybe that's
because of the barrels. Oak is one of those things. When you age anything in oak, I've done research on oak barrel. Vanilla is one of a charred oak barrel. Let's say a charred oak barrel.
Right.
Vanilla, caramel, toffee. Those are like the three main things you're getting from a charred oak barrel.
Right.
You're also getting some other things as well, depending on the type of spirit that goes in there. But if you're if you're aging a beer in there, those are going to be the three main components.
Right.
And of course the alcohol, the increased alcohol, depending on the spirit and how high proof it is. It was. But yeah, that's an interesting point, and it's very. I don't think a lot of people, at least in my experience, I haven't been able to tell the difference, because I have had an Irish whiskey aged stout. I've had a Canadian, the Boulevard one. That was the only one I've ever had. I don't think that's very popular, but a stout that was aged in Canadian whiskey barrels. And they all had that barrel presence. I want to say bourbon barrel presence, because that's what we're used to. But it was just a barrel presence, and it was hard. You really couldn't tell the difference. Anyway.
The Boulevard one you're talking about, I gave a 97 to. I found it to be excellent, but not top, not top.
Plaid, yeah, you've had that. The Plaid Habit, that's what it was called, Plaid Habit.
And that's really that's an excellent product, but it was not as good as this to me. Now again, everybody will view it differently. You might get people who think it's better. I don't know.
Right.
Your taste buds are all relative.
Jeremy says, crap, I have Goose Island Bourbon County Stout 19. Could have joined. Well, Jeremy, if you want to crack it open, you go ahead and join us real quick.
You might not have it chilled down, though, so he's not ready.
If you're out there, Jeremy, and you want to join us, you just let me know, and I'll drop you a link real quick. We've got Brandon is also in the chat, says, cheers all over Craft Beer Pours. Ronald Sutton says he feels like it's a Sunday. Yep, it does almost feel like a stout Sunday.
Earlier this morning, I got a text from my nephew, and he's been trading beers with this guy in Arkansas. So it's all the beers that Jeremy and Shane Fudge talk about. Lost 40, and my nephew has them. And I was mentioning, I sent a picture to both Jeremy and Shane Fudge, and it's the same beers that they talk about. And I hope my nephew will send me some of them, because he sent him like 5 different beers, but he doesn't have to send me all of them, but maybe a couple, just so I can try a couple of those too.
Right.
And maybe you and I can exchange some beers too, because it seems like people are doing that.
We definitely, yeah. I've exchanged a few with different people in the
With the
YouTube community. And
Whiskey Scout in Kansas.
Whiskey Scout. I've sent or Bumpy sent me some of his homebrew stuff, and Brian's going to send me some of his homebrew stuff. I've sent Bumpy and Brian beer, and then I plan on sending Drunken One a package as well, because he sent me some beef jerky a couple years ago, which I thought was really cool. So I'm going to, send him some stuff as well. It's a lot of fun when you start getting into the beer trades and that type of thing, because there's a lot of stuff like 6 Point. If you send me anything, you know what I want. I want some 6 Point stuff because I can't get any 6 Point beer here.
Well, I'm telling you though, in the future you're going to be able to, because this whole deal with Victory and Southern Tier, once they get this off the ground, they're going to get better distribution. But it's going to take time. It's not something you just snap.
That's true, but only the stuff. There's some stuff though that you go to the brewery a lot and you buy like these exclusive
limited release stuff. They're probably not going to be doing nationally. Which
the
is
barrel aged stuff, the 4 beans, 5 beans, all of that stuff that you've still got in your cellar. At least some of them, I'm sure.
I was looking now. Have you ever tried? You've probably never gotten this Ballantine Burton, which is a special.
No. Yeah, Jay's always talking about that, and then I know you've mentioned it before. It's kind of like it's more of a barley wine, isn't it?
Right, but it's like a cult thing almost. It's like, because Ballantine Ale had such a really good reputation here in the New York area, this is kind of like something they set up to give to their closest friends, and then they distributed some of it. And it's funny, I have 2 bottles. I have one that I'm cellaring, and I have one in the refrigerator. But the question is, when you have a 12-ounce thing, you can't do it at a group thing like with my crowd, because people don't get enough to get a good taste. If you have 12 people there and you give everybody an ounce, it's not enough. So you have to have 2 bottles. I don't want to use both the bottles I have.
Right.
I have one coming up 2 weeks from tomorrow, which is a week late, but nobody wanted to do it the day after New Year's. January 2nd is the first Thursday of the month.
Oh, okay, man. I guess, everybody's going to be a little tired or maybe hungover from
the time went on, so they're not ready to go at it. So I said, okay, I'll move it back a week. And what it means is the next one after that will be only 3 weeks away. So that'll be cool also. There's Jacob Downey again.
Jacob Downey's in the chat. Ronald Side, got to show this. This cracked me up. My butt is sensitive. I don't want to go to Goose Island, says Side.
Ronald Sutton is funny.
He's a funny guy. Yeah, I can't remember. He's out there. Is it Ohio? Sut? I can't remember where you live, man. I met him a couple times on like some off-air streams. He's big into hunting and
he was talking about yesterday
being outdoors, that type of stuff. He's a real cool guy.
He was out with his son deer hunting, and they were going to.
And it was Stout Sunday. He posted. He said that his son.
They were going to do some hunting, and then he was going to cook some of his deer.
And then he had an 18-pack of the aluminum cans or the aluminum bottles of Budweiser that he was going to drink. I remember that.
So this weekend, Stout Sunday, I still don't have a stout yet, but I will get one. Do not worry.
I don't either. I've got to go buy a stout or some stouts this weekend.
I'm going to the co-op on Saturday. I'll definitely get one.
Heck, maybe I'll go. Maybe I'll be able to get my hands on some more of this, and I'll just double down on the Bourbon County.
You can have a 13.5 at 10:30 in the morning, which will
that gets your day started off on the right foot right there.
And that's it. I heard from somebody in my group of people, I think I told you about this too, this Evil Twin thing in Queens. They have this brew pub now where they're distributing. I guess they're not distributing anything. They're not giving anything out, but they have a lot of their stuff on tap. And I guess I have to go because otherwise you never get to try. They probably have some things that they don't distribute in cans that they only have at the at this brew pub, and if I can get somebody to go with me, I'm going to go.
Yeah, man, I wish I'd go with you if I was up there, Michael. Sounds
You go
awesome.
to some of your local places there where they have good stuff on tap, so you understand.
I go to a lot of here in my area. We have a place called Taco Mac. I actually did a little bit of research on this place. They've got, I think, 50 or 75 locations, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, but that's it. Every single location has over 100 beers on tap, plus another 200 in bottles and cans. The best craft beer selection anywhere. You could do flights of anything. I mean, it's incredible. I go there all the time. What I need to do is get in really good with some of the people that work there and just let them allow me to start taking videos and doing on-site reviews, because it's hard to do that. Like, there's a lot of background noise, and there's, if you're not in a good spot, and it's just not worth it. I did one review at Taco Mac. It was like 45 seconds. I just held my phone and I was drinking the Sweetwater Burley beer, which is it's only available at Taco Mac. It may not even be around anymore, but I think I was telling you about this. It had the yellow. It was aged on tobacco leaves, so it had like a yellow tobacco sweetness on the aroma and a little bit of that tobacco flavor, and it actually kind of gives you a little bit of a buzz on another level because you're getting the alcohol buzz at 13%.
Right.
Plus, I'm sure there's some nicotine in it because it's aged on the tobacco leaves, so it was kind of like a completely different and unique experience that you can only get from a place like that. So
right. And even on they have these beers, you've heard of them, Hemperator, and some of the ones where you get the kind of marijuana kind of smell.
The hemp beers, yeah.
There's no, marijuana feel to those beers. You're not going to get high from them, but it's almost like by smelling it, it has an effect on your psyche.
Oh, well, real quick, Bart Robinson says he's got a 6-pack of the 2015 Ballantine Burnt Ale, and then 2016 also. Wow.
Mine is 2016 that I have 2 2016s. That's great.
Now, Bart is not too far from you, Michael. He's up in Jersey, so maybe y'all can meet up and do like a tasting. And then we've also got Daryl Macias from California. Says cheers from California. Cheers,
hey,
Daryl. Let's see. All right.
I've been doing my number on this baby.
I'm almost done with mine. Look at it. I mean, this is such a smooth, easy drinking beer. I gotta say, I've had a little bit of a cold over the last few days. I'm feeling better, but you know what makes me feel a lot better than the Dayquil and all the Zycams and all that? This makes me feel better than the medicine stuff.
It's medicine.
It is medicine. Let's see. We're pretty much caught up in the chat. Eric says, best part of waking up, 13.8% in your cup. Yeah. Let's see. Eric's talking about IPAs in his, yeah. Well, yeah, the New England area, the New England IPA craze, that continues to be. It's not a fad. Eric and I were talking. We've all kind of talked about this. Everybody seems to think, or used to think, that the New England IPAs were kind of a big, like a fad or a big thing that was not going to last. Well, anybody out there that still thinks the New England IPAs are not here to stay, I've got news for you. They are. You're wrong.
There's actually a better chance that we'll end up losing the heavier, higher IBU things than we will the New England IPAs. That's how I feel. Now, again,
I do too, because I think a lot of the West Coast IPAs,
it's almost like
it's been played out. Every West Coast IPA, every super piney and grapefruity and whatever, they've all kind of, it's a one-dimensional type beer, whereas the New England IPAs, you're doing all this dry hopping, you're adding all these late hop additions, you're getting tropical fruit, you're getting earthy notes, you're getting citrus, it's like the best of everything combined into one beer without all of the bitterness that you get from the West Coast IPAs. Not to say that the bitterness is a bad thing. A lot of people like the West Coast bitterness in the super bitter beers like that. But when you're getting that bitter with a beer, a West Coast IPA, your palate can only take so much, and at a certain point, they all start to taste the same. You don't get that with the New England IPAs,
right? So you can't have a hop stupid or a resin and then decide you're going to have just a regular IPA after that, because you're taste buds won't allow. I mean, they'll allow it. You just can't taste it anymore.
Right.
It reaches the point where the IBUs wreck your taste buds, so you're not as multifaceted after drinking those high IBU beers as far as taste.
Right.
Taste after a while.
And Johnny Tactile says he likes both styles. I do like both styles as well, Johnny, but I gravitate more towards the New England style IPAs because they vary a little bit more and there's a lot more character. They're not so one dimensional. I just find that the West Coast are a little bit more one dimensional than the New England style. I mean, it's not a knock on the style. It's just they become redundant at a certain point for me.
Have you been able to get New Realm?
Yes,
which is Atlanta
and Virginia. I've had a couple of their beers. I've had the Porter Horse, which is a porter with cocoa nibs and coconut, which I thought was excellent. And then I had the one Oaxaca Chaca, which was a stout that had cinnamon and Mexican spices in it. I thought they were both excellent. Yeah, they have breweries in Atlanta and then now up in, I don't know if it's Richmond, but somewhere up in Virginia, they have another brewery.
I'm excited that now that we're getting a little bit cooler and into winter, that we're going to probably be getting maybe companies to do more stouts and come out with some different stouts.
Sorry, just making sure my nose stays clear.
That Goose Island, Bourbon County will ultimately help your cold, but it may not help it immediately, if you know what I mean.
Right. Well, Michael, we can go ahead and wrap this.
Okay, we can.
Up if you want. You have any final comments on the Bourbon County, or just any thoughts in general?
As I've been saying, I'm a huge Bourbon County fan, and I will continue to buy them. And there's no reason to think that they might not come out with more variants as time goes on. And I just would like them to distribute more variants because I've never been able to see all of them. I know the Chicago area, you can get most of the variants. Here, you get a couple. But I may still buy one. We'll have to see. But I would buy the 2019, definitely the standard version if I can find it again.
Well, if anybody out there from InBev, Anheuser-Busch, the Bourbon County department, whatever you want to call it, is out there watching, send more of your beers to the state of Georgia, please, because I will buy as much as I can. I've enjoyed every variant that I've had. I still haven't had the original. I'd love to try the original, but anyway, it's until the state of Georgia passes a law or changes the law to where you can get beers over 14%. That's not going to happen. But any of the variants that y'all have that are 14% or less, please send them to the state of Georgia. I'd really appreciate it.
John, we're going to call it the John and Nilly change, and they're going to allow you to have a Bourbon County stout in the state of Georgia. So maybe they'll do one less than 14%, so you can get it. You never know.
That would be incredible. But thank you so much to everybody in the chat. Thanks for tuning in. I know this is there was no special announcement or anything. We just kind of did this spur of the moment type thing. Thank you so much, Michael, for joining me and drinking along as I got to enjoy this incredible beer. I mean, who knows when I'm going to be able to find it again. Hopefully I'll be able to get another couple bottles of this variant next week. But who knows? So yeah, thanks to everybody in the chat. Thanks to Michael Komaroff from Brooklyn for joining me. We would not be here doing this if it wasn't for all the viewers out there watching. We really, really appreciate it. And don't forget about Stout Sunday this weekend, Sunday at 10:30 Eastern Time. We will be on again as usual. Anybody's welcome to join. Just bring a stout and you've got an in. So it's always a lot of fun. Michael usually joins. We've got Ronald Terrio. A lot of cool guys on YouTube that you probably all know about already. One more quick question. This is a late comment. FACP monitoring. He actually lives in the state of Louisiana. He's pretty much neighbors with Jay Terrio. He says, John, have you ever tried High Life from Cigar City Brewing in Tampa, Florida? Yes, I have, and I think it's an excellent IPA, a little bit more West Coast style, but some nice citrus notes other than the grapefruit. You get a little bit of tangerine, and there's some nice like wheat malt breadiness in the middle of the sip. So, yeah, that's actually one of my favorite more West Coast style IPAs.
I like it as well.
So anyway, thanks to everybody for watching. Thanks to Michael Komaroff. Hope everybody had a Merry Christmas and has a Happy New Year. Don't forget about Stout Sunday. Like I said, Michael and I will be there, and we'll be looking forward to everybody joining. Hope everybody has a great rest of the week and weekend. And until next time, everybody, cheers.
Cheers, everybody.